19. Hello, everyone. And we are here for our YouTube recording of Deuteronomy chapter 19 and 20 today. So let's always begin, but let's have a quick prayer real quick. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, Holy Son, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, we come into your presence. We ask you to be with us. Open our eyes and our hearts and our ears to what you want to teach us through these two chapters. And we pray that it is edifying to our souls. In your Son's mighty name, amen. So, beginning in Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 1. When has cut off Yahweh, your God, singular and plural for our God, by the way. I'll break this down as simply as I can. Yahweh encompasses Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They all share this name. Okay? And this is the holy name of God. And this is who he is, not what he is. Your God, on the other hand, that is what he is. And even the word God, which is Elohim, is plural and also includes all three of them. Okay? And it's not three gods, it's one God. Okay? So, when has cut off Yahweh, your God, the nations whose Yahweh, your God, is giving you land, and you dispossess them and dwell in their cities and in their houses. So basically, you take over the places that belong to unholy people. 3 cities you shall separate for yourself in the midst of your land that Yahweh is giving you. So basically, Yahweh, when you give me all of these different areas that you're going to give to me, I'm ordered by you to give at least 3 different cities. And we're going to find out what the point of these 3 cities are. Okay? And shall separate for yourself in the midst of your land that Yahweh is giving you. That's to reference who's the one giving you the land. So for us today, it's like this. If God has given me a job, it's not me that's gotten the job. It's the Lord who gave me the job. Right? If I have a house or a spouse, or even being available on Sister Cecil's live, right? It's not me who's done it. The Lord has been the one to work in Sister Cecil's heart to allow me to be here to do this. So you get the idea, okay? And it says, you shall separate for yourself these 3 cities that Yahweh your God is giving you to possess. Then it says, you shall prepare for yourselves the way and divide into 3 parts the territory. The territory of your land that is giving you to inherit Yahweh your God. Again, this God that we serve that is both singular and plural. And it will be that may flee there. So now we're getting the purpose of why these 3 cities are being established. Okay? And it will be there, talking about the cities, that may flee there any manslayer, meaning a person who is a murderer. Okay? So if someone murders, you can go here to these cities. And the reason it says may flee is because even though God is offering that these cities are for those people, it doesn't mean they have to go there. They have the option to go. And this is the matter of the manslayer who flees there, that he may live. Again, reason it says may is to let you know that free will still applies. If a manslayer slays a person, he has this option to go, let me go to this city that is established, and if that happens, then he may live. So in other words, if he lives, it's because he's in that city. Because if he doesn't go to that city, someone else outside of that city is going to do away with him. Okay? Hopefully you get the idea. That he may live, whoever strikes his neighbor without knowing. Okay? Now that gives reference for this specific topic, because this is no longer talking about a person who is a murderer who has unalived someone else for the simple reason that they have hatred. Because it tells us it's a manslayer who doesn't know they've done this against their neighbor, right? In the world today that we live in, this is what is known as voluntary manslaughter. Okay, voluntary manslaughter. It's unaliving someone not on purpose, accidentally. Okay, so if this happens, here's this city that you can go to. If this happens, so that your life does not get taken from you, so that you still continue going and still continue living. Okay, and it says that he may live, whoever strikes his neighbor without knowing, and he without having hatred him. So that gives context that the person who's doing this is someone who's done this and they didn't really realize what they were doing. And not only do they not know it, but they don't have hatred in their heart for doing it. Okay, which is the difference between the Kill word and schmurder. Schmurder has hatred in its heart. Okay, premeditated schmurder has hatred in your heart for someone. But simply unaliving someone, there could be a whole number of accidents that would happen that would lead to that. Maybe the person left the oven on, maybe they left the furnace on and it burned the house down. We don't know what the reason is, but it does let us know that without them knowing, that's how the process of unaliving the person occurred, and that they didn't have hatred. Okay, and it says having hatred him from yesterday and the day before. And he who goes with his neighbor into the forest to cut timber and swings his hand with the axe to cut down the tree and slips the head from the handle and strikes his neighbor. So now it gives you more context that it's referring to accidental. Okay. And then his friend would unalive, he shall flee to one of these cities and live. And it says in verse 6, least pursue the avenger. Right? So let me give you an example. If me and Cecile, we go out, and let me use today's terms. Let's say, Cecile, by the way, for YouTube, is the person that I'm on TikTok live with right now, teaching the same lesson that you guys are getting. So I just want to give that reference. If you don't know her, go follow her. She's Sister Cecile, just Cecile for short, CECILE on TikTok, if you have TikTok. So just a quick plug for her. But let's use me and Sister Cecile here as an example. Okay, so let's say we're out and about, and let's say we're going to do something, and there's some sort of accident that happens. Hello, Pastor. Welcome, Pastor. Oh, look who it is. Oh, I know who she was looking for. She's looking for the head. So, as you see, let me use Sister Cecile as an example. Okay, Sister Cecile would be there, and let's say that we're doing something, and something falls and a glass breaks, and then Sister Cecile gets unalived, but it's not on purpose. I'm not trying to do it. It's accidental. Now, let's say there's a guy who loves Sister Cecile, right? She's married and she has a husband or something, and he's furious. He's like, how dare you let this happen? So he's angry as can be, and very, very angry, and he's going through this process. So now, because of something that's accidental that I did, now I have the option of going to one of these cities in order to keep myself living, because now there's someone that has anger in their heart and wants to do the same thing to me. The only difference is mine was accidental, theirs would be premeditated, out of anger and hatred. Okay? And it says, least pursue the avenger of blood after the manslayer, while is hot his anger and overtake him. Now, the same principle is in the old Bible. If you remember Cain and Abel, right? Cain, through his hatred, unalived Abel, okay? And when he did that, there was a mark, because he was fearful of recompense, of what would come back on him when other people would find out what he did. So there was a mark that was placed on him. That mark would be symbolic in the same way as these cities are a place of refuge, okay? Now, with that being said, let's continue. And the manslayer, while is hot his anger, meaning while his anger is burning, flaming. How dare you do this, right? Flaming and overtake him. So why do so many people get into problems when they go through life? Very simply put, because they act out of their anger. What does the Bible say? In your anger, so it's right there, it's telling you anger is not a sin itself. It's what you do with the anger. So it's telling you, hey, in your anger, don't let your anger get control of you to where now you do actions based out of your hate and anger that you have. Because I tell you this, hatred, that's born from anger. That's born from you having an offense to someone. And the Bible tells you the Lord will pay them back if they've done wrong to you. Not you. You're not in this place. You're not God. You're not supposed to make things right. The Lord is the one that's supposed to make things right. You're supposed to let it go and move forward. Okay? But I love how it works. Is huck your anger and overtake him. Hear that word. The anger will actually overtake you. It will seize control of you because you're letting it burn like a fire within yourself. Okay? It says, because is long the way and unalive him. And though he not has a sentence of unalivement, since not had hatred, he him from yesterday, before yesterday and the day upon this, I command you, saying, in 3 cities you shall separate for yourself. And then it gives a word of if, conditional statement. And if enlarges Yahweh, your God, your territory. So if he gives you more provisions, right, as he swore to your fathers, that would be ancestors, and he gives you all the land that he promised to give to you, just as he has promised to your ancestors, even though it says fathers, and if you keep, so notice the word that keeps repeating here, if this happens, if God does choose to grow your resources, grow what he's given you, and if you keep all of my commandments, mind you, keeping in mind that this is in the Old Testament. So this whole section here is in referencing to Jews, okay? Biblical Jews, biological Jews, okay? And it says, if you keep all the commandments, this, and do it, that which I command you today, to love Yahweh your God, and to walk in all his ways all the days. Now, hold on for a second. Where do we remember that statement from? Let's think about it. Keep all of my commandments and do it, and I keep the commandments to love Yahweh, your God, and walk in his ways. Where do we pick that up from? Oh, right, yes. Those who love me keep my commands. As well as, what is the greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God. So you see how the New Testament is actually backing up the Old Testament. Okay? The only difference is in the Old Testament, it's strictly for Jews. No salvation for the Gentiles. Okay? Then, because of what the Jews did to expel it and say, no, we don't want it, and reject it, now it's given to those. This is why we have the parable of, I'm inviting everyone to the banquet, but then everyone gives an excuse. And now because they've given an excuse, I'm going to go out and pull people off the streets and invite them. Okay? And it says, in all the days, then you shall add to yourself more 3 cities besides the 3 these. So if you do what you're supposed to do, I'm going to keep amplifying and growing what you have. Right? So it's kind of like a parent who goes, I'm going to give my kid $10. Oh, I see that my kid did good with $10. Okay, next time I'm going to give him $20. Oh, you did good with $20. Now I'm going to give you $30. You get the idea. More and more and more. Because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing with what they were given to begin with. Okay? And it says, and not will be shed innocent blood in the midst of your land, which Yahweh your God is giving you. Now, I do want to mention something. Back there where it says to love Yahweh your God and walk in his ways, notice something. Yahweh is singular, right? Elohim is plural. Our God who is singular and plural. And then right after that, it used a singular statement. His. It doesn't say ours. It doesn't say us. It says his, as in one God. Okay? And not will shed innocent blood in the midst of your land, which Yahweh your God is giving you as an inheritance, and be upon you blood. In other words, hey, you're not going to do this. You're not going to shed innocent blood. Okay? Then it says, but if, conditional statement. So let's track everything that's going on so far. Here's these 3 cities, right? These 3 cities are established for people that do accidental unaliving. Okay? And it's for the purpose of them running to it so that other people don't unalive them out of hatred. Okay? And then it continues to tell them, hey, I want you to listen to me. I want you to listen to me, obey my commands, love the Lord your God. Okay? Then it adds this to it. But if comes anyone to hate his neighbor, and he lies in wait, that means set a trap, like I'm going to wait outside the city for the person, for him, and rises against him, and strikes him mortally, that means to unalive him, so that he unalives, and he flees to one of these cities, and shall send the elders of his city, and bring him from there, and deliver him to the hand of the avenger of the blood, that he may unalive. So in other words, if people choose to, hey, you've gone to this city, let me send other people into this city, they will manually, forcefully pull you out of that city, and now we're going to take you back to our city so we can do away with you. What does it say? Now remember, all of this is a if, right? If you go here, you will save your life. If you do this, if you do that. Now we have, if people chase after you and go into the city to get you. Then it says, not shall pity your eye him, and you shall put away blood innocent from Israel, that it may go well with you. Okay? Not you shall move a border of your neighbor, which have set the men of old in your inheritance, that you will inherit the land that Yahweh your God is giving to you to possess. Okay? Now we do need to backtrack because we do need to break that down. Okay? So if comes anyone to hate his neighbor, and he lies in wait, that would mean set a trap, okay, and sets a trap for him and rises up against him, that means to fight with him, and strikes him and unalives him, so that he unalives, and then this person flees to one of these cities, because we're still talking about those cities, because he's a manslayer, right? Now notice the difference here. Okay, I want you to pay attention to the difference. What does it say? If anyone comes to do what? To hate, right? If you remember before, it said this person didn't have hate. So this is not accidental unaliving. This is on purpose unaliving. And so if a person is guilty of unaliving someone, and they've done it with hatred, and they've done it just because, oh, I can't stand you, right? Purposefully, willfully, right? And they try to use one of these cities as refuge because they don't want to pay for the sins that they've done. Then what's going to happen is Yahweh, our God, is going to allow other people to come into the city and drag them out and take them back to where they were, so that they can be unalived. Why? Because they're fully guilty of their crime. The crime needs to be settled. Okay. Whereas before, when it was talking about the people before, that's referencing a person who's not doing it on purpose. There's no hatred involved, like it says in this one. Okay, and it says, you shall put away him, the innocent blood from Israel. You should get rid of him, right? Unalive him, that it may go well with you. There's that promise at the end. So I hope you understand that. I hope that you're following what's going on. We have 2 situations that it's saying if about. If one, that a person who does an accidental unaliving, he's allowed to go to this place and he will be kept alive as long as he stays in that place. The moment he leaves that place of his own free will, now he takes his chances, right? But it's got the other side of the coin, which is people who end up being angry and hateful towards somebody, and they realize these cities are a place of safety. So they unalive, they go, oh, that's wonderful. I can do away with this person, but then I can run over here and be safe. No, because with you, There's hatred involved. And because there's hatred involved there, I'm now going to end up, as God, allowing these people to come get you and drag you back to the city that you did the crime in, and now they're going to do away with you because you're fully guilty. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. Now remember, this is for Jews. Okay? So let me make it make sense for you as a Christian, as a Gentile. Okay? Because I love to do this. Right? As a Gentile, what this would reference is if you have done something and it was accidental, right? The Lord is going to fight on your behalf. He's going to provide a place of safety for you that you can go to where you do not have to end up paying for this because it wasn't on purpose. Okay? And that would be the current court systems that we have today, where you go into court, they go, okay, let's look at the evidence that is supported. Is there enough evidence to show that this person did this on purpose, or was it accidental? If it's accidental, hey, there's something that's occurred, but we're not going to end up unaliving you, right? As opposed to, oh, you on purpose went and did this, you did this on purpose, but now you think you can come to me and get away with it. No, I'm a righteous judge. It's not going to happen like that. You did the crime and you did it on purpose, so you're fully guilty. Okay? Now, what this would reference as far as what I've been teaching you guys with the Greek is this would be the difference between hamartia, which Christ came to unalive for us for, and agnoema, which Christ did not come to unalive us for. Agnoema is a sin of ignorance, right? Because in that first part, it said they unalived someone, but they did not know it. It was accidental, and they didn't realize what was occurring until it was too late. And it wasn't done on purpose. It wasn't done in hatred, okay? So agnoema is along that same line. It's why when they were unalive in Christ, Christ said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's agnoema right there. You don't know what you're doing. That is the definition of the word sin of ignorance. Okay? And Christ did not come to pay for those sins because even though you've done something wrong, you're not guilty of it because you didn't know about it. Okay? Simple as that. Hamartia, on the other hand, one aspect of hamartia, within hamartia, is what's called sins of commission. And sins of commission is you know what you shouldn't do, but you still do it anyway. Okay? So I hope that makes sense for you guys. If you are going into court, and if you're going into court, and let's say the judge is righteous, and you're going in there and you're innocent, you have no worries. Because God's going to fight on your behalf. He's going to make sure that what happens, happens, and that you're not ending up being taken advantage of. The evidence is going to back it up. The evidence is going to show you didn't do it on purpose. It was accidental. You didn't mean to. The heart posture and the way you act in court, that's going to show the same thing, right? As opposed to, oh, yeah, I'm fully guilty and I don't care. I hate that person. I can't stand that person. I did away with it, okay? So now we move on to the next section of this, okay? Hold on. I want to think about something for a second. So give me a second. There might be another aspect of how that might play in your life, which would be not as far as the courts go, but let's put it a different way. Let's say you have a job, right? And you know you're doing everything that you're supposed to do in the job, right? If you're doing everything you're supposed to do in the job, you don't have anything to worry about because your evidence is going to back up the fact that you are innocent and that you're doing what you're supposed to do. But if you're being lazy, if you're not doing your job and you're misusing and mistreating your job, well, don't be surprised when you lose your job. I hope that makes sense, okay? And when you do lose your job, please know that it is the Lord your God who has allowed it to happen because you weren't responsible with what he put in your hands. Okay? Verse 15 of Deuteronomy 19. Not shall rise witness one against a man concerning any iniquity, that would be perversity, okay, or any sin, that would be chata, okay, in the Old Testament, in any sin that he commits upon the mouth of two witnesses or upon the mouth of three witnesses, shall it be established a matter. So, in other words, don't believe someone just because one person says something, because that one person could be outright lying to you and there's no way to verify what they're saying. But when you get multiple people coming to you saying the exact same thing, now you got caution. Now you got reason to be like, what? There's got to be something to this, right? That's why it's saying on one witness, okay, whatever. It's just your word. There's no other ones there. That's why when Christ unalived and Christ resurrected, it wasn't just one witness who saw him. It was numerous, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of witnesses that saw him resurrected. Because if it was just one witness, they could just say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're a crazy person." That's all it is. This is the problem with LDS. This is the problem with Jehovah's Witness, specifically LDS, Iglesia Ni Cristo, Eastern Lightning, Islam, because all of them are based on one person's eyewitness account. And when it comes to that, don't believe any doctrine that is based off of one single person's eyewitness account. Okay? If there's more people, then you might want to actually start being like, I might want to investigate this to see if there's any truth to it. But if it's just one, then no. That's the idea with this. Okay? Now, we know according to the Bible, it strictly tells us if anyone brings any other doctrine or gospel, don't listen to it. Discard it. Okay? So we already have our answers. If it doesn't line up with the Bible, we're not going to listen to it. So for Islam, hey, you might believe in your book all you want. I could care less. Okay? Your book comes after our book. Our book was first. Our scriptures were way before yours. And yours actually tells you to go to the people of the book if you're in doubt, to verify. Okay? So when that happens, and their book is coming after ours, what ends up happening is now their book has to be the one to line up with ours, or else it ain't the truth. Okay? And that's where Islam has a problem. It doesn't line up with ours. Okay? Verse 16. If rises, there's an if again. Remember what if means? Dependent on the situation. It could happen or it could not happen. It just depends. If rises a witness false, it directly says false witness. So if rises one false witness against any man, any person, to testify against him of wrongdoing, and shall stand both the men whom between them is the controversy before the face of Yahweh, this means in the presence of God, before the priests, that would be the sons of Aaron, and the judges, that would likely be the Levites, but I can't guarantee that, who serve in those days, and shall make inquiry, the judges, that means to investigate. That's why judges today, they go, show me the evidence. What's your evidence? Let me see your evidence. Right? And it says, and shall make inquiry, the judges, thoroughly. That doesn't mean, oh, let me just look at the surface. Let me do a deep, deep dive to find out all the details, so I can make a very thorough and clear decision. This is why the Lord God searches our heart. Why does he search our heart? So that he can do a thorough job of inquiring about who we are, what we feel, what our loyalties are, what our motives are. Because you can pretend to other people on the surface, but you can't pretend to God. He sees everything. And they do thoroughly, and behold, if the witness is a false witness. So if it does happen to be that this is actually a lying witness, a witness of falsehood, he has testified against his brother, then you shall do to him as he thought to have done to his brother. Oh, wow. That is strong. But let's continue. Shall be done to him as he thought right to do to his brother that he wanted to do to him. And you shall put away the evil from among you. So in essence, basically, here's what it is. If someone comes along in those days and says, hey, your honor, I'm speaking a testimony against this person. This person has unalived my child. I want them gone. right? And if it comes up that I'm the one that's making the lies, then what happens? I'm the one that's unalive because now my own justice that I would want to be implemented falsely onto someone else, that gets reverberated back on me. Okay. Now we see this in the Bible as well, right? If you remember the story of Esther, okay, in Esther, you have, I think it's the uncle, and he's doing the will of God. And then you have that other guy who is angry at the Jew guy, at the uncle, and he makes a hanging device in order to unalive this guy. But what happens at the end? When he's found out and when the truth is made clear, now that same punishment gets put on him. This is that same context. Okay. And then it says, then you shall do to him as thought have been done to his brother, and you shall put the evil from among you. He's a false witness. He's spreading all sorts of evil, and now he wants to do away with you. Well, guess what? Now that's going to come back on you. Now, we have a statement in the world that sums this up, which you probably have heard, which is karma, right? What you put out comes back to you. So you put out evil, guess what you're going to get back? You put out good, guess what you're going to get back? Then you shall do to him, sorry, I just read that actually, verse 20, and those who remain shall hear and fear. So now we get the context of why this person who is lying is being unalive. It's not just for making justice fair. It's also to set an example that if any future people want to lie, now they're going to have to face the consequences and go, oh yeah, I'm thinking about doing a false witness and bearing false witness against my neighbor, which is one of the rules of God that you should not do. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. But if for whatever reason I choose to do that, not only do I have the Lord's laws and orders that say don't do it, but also even if I do it, now I have to remember that, oh yeah, about a year ago, someone was unalive because they made false witness on someone else and it came back on them. So I might want to think twice about my actions. Okay. And it says, those who shall remain shall hear and fear, and not they shall add to do any more the evil thing this among you. In other words, continuing. We don't want to have a continuation of people after people after people bearing false witness. So what do? You make the first person an example so the rest of those people go, I'm not quite sure if I want to do this. Because look what happened to the guy before me. Okay? And not shall, listen to that again, and not shall pity the eye of you or your life, for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Now remember, this is still under the context of the Old Testament, okay, which is a work-based salvation. Now, why the Lord switched it in the New Testament, I have not quite figured that part out yet, okay? But what I do know is in the Old Testament, it's what other people do to you, you do right back to them, okay? That's set in stone right here. You shall not have pity on them. Eye for eye, life for life, tooth for tooth, hand for hand. Okay? Whatever they do, you do it back to them. But again, this is still under the old context of the old covenant, which is for Jews only. Not for you, not for me. Okay? And ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of Deuteronomy chapter 19. So I hope you've appreciated this. And we're going to actually take a moment. You guys are going to have this, so let's look at this. The shift of eye for an eye, right, in the Old Testament, that changes to turn the other cheek, it represents a move away from legal code of strict justice to a personal code of non-retaliation and spiritual grace. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus did not abolish the older law. It's still there. We know that. Do not believe that I have come to abolish law, I've come to fulfill it, right? He shifted the focus from how a courtroom should punish a criminal to how an individual should treat an enemy. So it went from legalistic to loving. So let's break down the two terms, okay? The legal purpose of eye for an eye. In the Old Testament, the concept is known as lex talionis, lex talionis, meaning the law of retaliation. It was never meant to justify personal vendettas. I can't stand you. I don't like you. Okay. It set a strict maximum penalty to stop runaway uh, blood feuds between people. If someone knocked out one tooth, you could not take their life in revenge. So it was equal. It was still equally based. If they knock out a tooth, you knock out a tooth. If they gouge out an eye, you gouge out an eye. So you get the idea. It was equal justice even in that case. It applied equal across all social classes. Didn't matter whether you're rich or poor or whatever. It prevented the wealthy from simply paying their way out of harm. Now, what is going on in the world today? Let's look at this. In the world today, right, if I was to go out and do something horrible, right, I would get slammed and slammered, and depending on how bad it was, I could be unalived. But if a celebrity did it, what happens? Oh, let's just give them a quick smack on the hand. What that is that is not equal justice. Okay, and you best believe God is going to make those people actually pay for what they've done, regardless if they get away with it on this earth. And that is good support for us. So I say clearly, if someone does you wrong on this earth, and even if, for whatever reason, they do not get it paid back to them while they are alive, you can still take hope and know that when it comes to the judgment day, they will pay for what they've done in some sort of fashion. And I don't know about you, but I would rather trust a God who is fair than people who are not fair. Okay? And it was designed for judges and civil magistrates to maintain public order, right? Like not control, but civilness, society, in other words. Okay. By the time the New Testament came around, many people were using this eye for an eye to excuse the revenge. So basically, what they were doing at this time, and the reason that Christ made this new addition to it, is I made this rule so that people would have equal justice. If someone did you wrong, you were allowed to do them wrong only to the level of what they did to you, right? Now, what does that connect to the New Testament? Remember the statement? Uh, what is it? Whenever you judge someone, whatever amount, whatever measure that you judge someone else, that same measurement's going to be used on you. Fair and equal justice. Remember that? Okay. In the New Testament, the reason that happens is because people were using it as an excuse. Oh, I hate this person. I cannot stand this person. So let me set up a situation where I would get hurt. Maybe they would, do something to themselves in order to pretend that someone else did it and blame it on someone else, so that then they could be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. Okay. Jesus countered this or worked against it by introducing a higher ethical standard for relationships. In the first century Jewish culture, a slap on the right cheek was typically delivered with the back of the hand. Okay. So when you slapped someone on the cheek, it was back of the hand, not the front of the hand. This was a severe social insult when someone did this to you, rather than actually trying to PA you, right? Physical bassaulting. I'm trying to replace the word with something else, but you get the idea. Okay. It was the back of the hand. It was used as a insult, not as, hey, I'm attacking you. Okay. By turning the other cheek, a person refused to flee like a coward or strike back like an aggressor. So they're saying, in essence, what they're saying when they turn the other cheek is, one, I'm not going to run, even though you're trying to do evil on me. I'm not going to run. I'm not scared of what you're doing. So they're not letting fear control them, right? And then the second thing that's not happening is that they are not allowing that same poison that someone else has in their heart to spread to them. Okay. This was a form of creative nonviolent resistance that forced the fabuser, the person that would be doing the action, to view the victim as an equal. It forced them to do that. And it really, in our day and age, it really forces people, when we turn the other cheek and we don't get back at them, it forces them to have to take a hard look at what lives within them, because now they're wondering to themselves, well, why is it that this person can live this specific way? Why can this person do these specific things and not end up allowing this evil to be spread to them? Why are they allowing that to happen? Now they have to go, okay, there's a mirror that's going on. There's a situation that's going on. And now, hey, I'm looking at you. You're not acting the same way as me. What's happening? That's breaking that cycle of let me pour more oil on the fire. So when you turn the other cheek, you're basically going, hey, you know what? I'm not going to give you any ammunition. Okay. So in any way, guys, that is the end of this Deuteronomy chapter 19 recording. And I will end this recording and we will begin Deuteronomy chapter 20. Now, I will give a few moments because of the TikTok thing.